Hey VC, Big Star 1000, Revolutions, and welcome to a bumper edition of Revolutions because I've had plenty of time off recently. Meet my new friends. Aren't they gorgeous? Um, I've got a pretty badly injured knee, and thus I can't really go anywhere. I did go to a record fair with uh, Anthony Camplone and Andrew Chamsan on Sunday, which really was the last straw for my knee. So standing up for that long is just I So I've got plenty of time to listen to records, and because I can't move very much, I'm going to talk for a while here. And if it exceeds 20-25 minutes, you don't have to watch it. But there's lots of records. So I hope to be informative and entertaining, maybe. I want to start with, so I've got three different piles of things here. I've got a pile of things in my hand, which are the records that I considered for 1983. Then I have another pile of new finds, 5 new records from the record fair, and 2 mail order things. And I've got a pile of other records that I've listened during the week. So I hope you enjoy the ride with me. Okay, 1983 Rejects. I could put a U2 album in literally every single installment because I've explained many times. This was the first band I listened to when I was a teenager, and the music there is sort of imprinted in my brain. So, and War is fantastic. I mean, and you may disagree, but it's more like a sentimental thing than a musical thing, if you like. Well, it is both. War by YouTube. And one of my favorite songs on it is Red Lights, which is the third last one. Don't know why, it's got something. 1983 also, this really wonderful post-punk album by a Boston band called Native Tongue, Yell. This was sent to me by Mike, Bostonian Reggie, as VCLT. I would never have known about it otherwise. So Mike, thank you again. It was wonderful. Great record. Post-punk, if you like Killing Joke or The Fall, it's sort of brackets. A fabulous record, Synchronicity by The Police. Not their best album, but the best side. There's side 2 of this is by far the best side. I mean, you go from what's the song order? Side 2, Every Breath You Take, King of Pain, Wrapped Around Your Finger, and Tea in the Sahara. I mean, say no more. Fantastic record. This Creati slept on record, 0 set. Dieter Mobius, Connie Plank, and Manny Neumeier. So Mobius from Cluster and Manny Neumeier from Guru Guru. Wonderful record. Originally released on Sky, but Bureau B reissue. Driving, sort of electronic music. Great. Another piece of VCLT from Chris 417 Basket in Switzerland. The band Conk, New York band, and the album is called Yo. Fantastic sort of no wave, New York no wave, punk funk. Think Gang of Four, but a little bit more sort of angular and obtuse. One of the first Detroit techno records ever, Cybertron with Enter, band that is basically the brainchild of Ron Atkins, one of the Belleville Three, the founders of Detroit Techno. Great record. I mean, not too dissimilar to an Ultravox record. And Anthony Camplone, if you're watching this, this is, to me, it's like Vienna. It's like listening to Vienna. Speaking of Anthony Camplone, a record by Anthony Camplone, L'amour. it's his thumbnail on YouTube, right? And every time I see this picture, I think it's Anthony Campo. Truly. So this is Campo. When he had hair, that was him. L'amour by Louis. If you have never heard of this record, it's wonderful. Looks like a Duran Duran record or sort of a cheesy synth pop record, but in fact, it's a beautiful singer-songwriter record, piano, acoustic guitar. This guy was kind of like a forgotten. It was rediscovered by Light in the Attic, basically, and I mean, there's a whole story. I don't have the whole day to tell you, but he was like, he made 2 albums and he disappeared, and they had to track him down. Whether this is true or not is irrelevant. I mean, sometimes you just think that the stories are made up so that people buy records. And finally, 1983, wonderful sort of ambient jazz record, Vapor Drawings by Mark Isham. If you're going to buy 2 or 3 records on Windham Hill, I mean, I'm not really a big fan of Windham Hill. I find it kind of too new agey for me, but this is really spot on. That's the very first Shadowfax records. They're really worthy recommendations on the Windham Hill record label. Okay, now I'm going to show you some records that I bought at the fair. Okay, some new finds and 2 mailbox finds, so things that came in the mail. So as I said, I met up with Campo and Chem Sound. We had a great time. We spent 2 hours at the fair. I think that was the last the last hurrah of my knee, as we know it. But in saying this, we had a great meal at the Chinese restaurant afterwards. It was just great. I mean, it's always great with those guys. And James Busry now lives in New Zealand, and would have been great to go digging with him. And Christian Saren 05 couldn't come. So we still had a great time. I bought 5 records at the fair. I bought Natty Dread by Bob Marley and the Wailers. Not really much to explain about this. Probably the last Marley and the Wailers that I really wanted on vinyl, and I now have every Marley and the Wailers record that I really sort of need. Between Burning, Exodus, Catch a Fire, and this one, you've pretty much got. That's the essential Marley, in my opinion. Those 4, but I've got more than that. But just saying, those 4 are the one that you really want to have. This is an Island record from 1974. There you go. I was really stoked to find this record that I was missing from my ambient collection, Ambient 3. So this is not a Brian Eno record, it's a Laraji record. Laraji it's produced by Brian Eno, the sleeve was designed by Brian Eno, but the record is a Laraji record. Laraji, Edward Larry Gordon as a zither player, which was discovered. He was discovered by Brian Eno in New York. Laraji, at the time Edward Larry Gordon, as he was known, he was busking in New York. I think in Washington Square Park, as I remember reading, and he with his eyes closed, so he couldn't. He was just playing the zither, and Brian Eno puts a card in his tray saying, if you want to make a record, this is my phone number, blah blah blah. that's the rest is history, as they say. And Laraji, just interesting story for those who don't know, is basically Larry Gordon, and the sort of a take on his name. Very cool meditation record, very ambient, minimal, and I'm going to talk about minimal records very shortly. I was really stoked also to find at the fair the very first album by Javan, Fleur de Lis, which is an artist that I came across thanks to Chris 4127 Basket, because he's showcased Javan before, and this is his first album, a reissue of his first album, which is probably his best album. And I didn't pay $10 for it. I paid a little bit more, but it was okay. Great MPB, samba infused singer-songwriter, Brazilian record from 1976. Highly recommended. Came out on Some Livre to start with, and this is a later reissue. Javan. I also stoked to find a copy of Bill Evans' Symbiosis on MPS. So Bill Evans, as you know, is world-class pianist, played on Kind of Blue. Actually makes really Kind of Blue in my opinion. From 1974, a super cool orchestral record. Bill Evans with Eddie Gomez on bass. Then you've got lots and lots of musicians. Phil Woods, Hubert Laws plays on this, Don Hammond. Just a cast of thousands, really. Symbiosis, very highly recommended. Beautiful jazz record, orchestral jazz record. This is a recommendation from Anthony Camplone. He put it in my hand. Have you got this? And instantly, he didn't have to sell it to me. It just looks like something I wanted. Escalade, The Water World by Hamza Eldin. Voice and oud. This is on Explorer Nonsuch, which is a wonderful series of ethnographic sort of kind of music. This is from music from Nubia, which is basically North Sudan, South Egypt, North Sudan. This guy is Egyptian, and it's really amazing, this record. Beautiful sort of. This is the kind of music that these days I just go for most. World music, but with real class, real. This is from 1971, and two records that I got in the mail yesterday. The last two Fela Kuti albums that I really wanted for my Fela collection. Zombie, which arguably is one of Fela's best albums, maybe the top three. Still just been reissued by Knitting Factory. Now I could have got a more original. Like I saw in Melbourne here, I saw a not an original press, but like an early press for $100, and I thought, I'd love to, but this was like $15, and it's a nice reissue. Well done, sounds good press. Zombie. Now, if you read the Fela story, when Zombie was released, Zombie was was a critique of the military regime in Nigeria, and Zombie was basically his way to describe people in the army, and it became kind of a hit in Nigeria, and the Nigerian army stormed his compound and threw his 78-year-old mother from a second floor window. Fucking nuts. Okay, and then also this one, Fela London Scene, fantastic record too. Beautiful record from 1972, recorded in Abbey Road, also on Knitting Factory. So I really didn't have those two, so I ordered them. Alright, now for some records that I played during the week. I'll try to, get it going. I'm a little bit bored, it's 40 minutes, but, whatever. Okay, it's a French band, Le Système Krapouchik. le système krapoutique, a bands, what would you describe them as? Progressive pop, progressive, rather psychedelic pop from France. If you're familiar with Jacques Dutronc or Guy Skornik or Christophe or Hilo Décupier, those are kind of references that you can go by if you're not. Wonderful French pop from 1975, band with Jean-Pierre Alarcen, who was also in Catharsis, I think. I mean, lots of vocals, obviously, but great record. System Krapoutik. A revisit from an album that I bought when it came out, but I hadn't played for ages, and I really enjoy this record. This is Brian Eno, Drums Between the Bells, Brian Eno and Rick Holland. I have to say, this album is very underrated. It's a very good album. It's a double album, and Eno does. I mean, it's on Warp Records, which is, I mean, if you know Warp, Boards of Canada, Aphex Twin, etc. I mean, it says everything you need to know about it. It really fits in that Warp catalog really well, and I mean, there's some spoken word poetry by Rick Holland, but just a wonderful piece of music. I'm sure someone like Derek would concur to this. Okay, now I listen to a lot of classical music these days. Don't ask me why. I'm just mad for classical music, solo piano, solo violin. I'll just show you a few classical music things that I've played, and it ties in well with my current obsession with minimal music. So I try to sort of tie them together. So, for example, the kind of things I go for are things like Claude Debussy, you know, and Maurice Ravel. So I was playing this, and I hadn't heard Bolero for ages, and it's just a wonderful piece of music. And Debussy, Chopin, Satie, Brahms, a bit of Bach, just things that I listen to fairly regularly these days, and Ravel as well. But this is a wonderful set. Now, I found this set in an up shop, which is basically a thrift store down the road, like 500 meters away from my house, for $1 a piece, and I think arguably is the greatest dollar score of my digging life. It's just such great albums. This is Yehudi Menuhin playing solo violin sonatas Bach. So there's three of them. There's three volumes. There's this one. There's and then they're all different colors. Man, this is just wonderful. You can put that in the background and zone out. It's just a wonderful set of records. So I was playing this, pull them out. I've got a classical section in this room here. They don't fit in my main room. I just, you know, but I go into the classical section quite a bit. Now, since I'm on classical, I'll talk about sort of modern classical that I've been playing, sort of kind of segue my way into things. For example, Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, Hymnen, as we would say in German, as German would say. Elektronische Realisation, WDR Köln. Okay, so that's a very abstract record, beautiful record, Stockhausen, and you know I don't have enough Stockhausen in my collection. They're not really that easy to come by, but they're wonderful. So directly segueing into this is this amazing record, In C, by Terry Riley. And if you've never heard In C, it's just a top-notch record. It is basically Terry Riley's minimal music manifesto, basically. I mean, people always talk about Rainbow in Kildare, which is more accessible, I think, in some ways. It's more driving, drony. But this is more in line with the minimalist way of making music in C, I think. It's completely this kind of... Now, I can't show you here because I don't have a physical copy, but I've also been playing the well-tuned piano by Lamont Young. Now, I don't have a physical copy of it. I've got it on my iPod. I'm not going to show you my iPod, but you can get a free download of the well-tuned piano if you look up on it. I might even put a link because it's a very expensive record to buy. On record, it's the box set is about $300. That's the lowest price. And I think on CD it's like $800 to buy the CD box set. So, I mean, you got to do what you got to do. If I hear things, but the well-tuned piano is mind-blowing. Other minimal things that I've been listening to recently: Charlemagne Palestine, which is an act from New York. Very repetitive music. You've got to be in the mood to listen to this. There's not much movement. It's really minimal to the max. It just stays on the same notes, and it just moves so slightly. Charlemagne Palestine. That's also a very expensive record to buy on record, but on CD, I think you can still find copies affordable. And also another minimal composer from England, Michael Nyman. Drowning by Numbers. Wonderful music, beautiful orchestral music on Virgin. Yes, that's right. What else? Other kind of minimal numbers this year is beautiful. Very, very sparse music. Nada by Peter Michael Hamel from Between, the band Between. This is a wonderful sort of spacey record and totally fits in the minimal genre style. I played this record the other day. Shout out to Calm Gorvo. Very cool record. Paul Winter concert. Icarus. Beautiful sort of. It's very hard to define. Jazzy, new agey, ambient y record. In between all this. A couple more. Look, I don't have many more. I think I've done everything that I wanted to do, just about. Yeah. Alright, so, a couple more. One more LP. This is a totally different style. Reissues, or whatever it's. This is basically an Argentinian jazz masterpiece. It's from Argentina. And if you've heard of George Lopez Ruiz, this guy here, he's a bass player from Buenos Aires, I think. And this is a record that he took part in. I don't think I can tell you very much about it, except that it is just so forward-thinking. There's bits in there that reminds me of Massive Attack, only like 20 years before Massive Attack. This is from 1976. Mind-blowing record. Not 20 years, not quite 20 years, maybe 15 years. Viejas Raíces. Now, it's not an easy record to come by. As I said, it's Argentinian electric jazz. Beautiful. Lots of really synthetic kind of passages in this. It's fantastic. Three more. Here is Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, which just, if you know, you know. If you don't know, you need to find out. This is a Pakistani singer, devotional singer. He's like his voice. He's got a huge voice, but more to the point, the music is enthralling. It's Pakistani music, So it's close to Indian music in sort of spirit, but he sings really, really enthralling devotional songs. Just check him out. And on a completely different level, I was revisiting those two EPs by Bell and Sebastian, one of my favorite bands. This is Dog on Wheels, and this is 369 Seconds of Light. Some of the early EPs have got the best songs on. In fact, these two EPs could make a fantastic album together. If you bunch them together, that would make a great album. An album to challenge Tiger Milk and Sinister, because the songs are so good. La Pastille de la Bourgeoisie, beautiful. Put the book back on the shelf. Dog on Wheels, such great songs. Very early. One of my favorite bands in the world, Bell and Sebastian, and still is. So that's it. I've talked and talked and talked, and if you've stuck with me all this time, thank you very much. And I hope you give me some comments and interact.